Hi, it's that fantasy chick back with another stream. And yes, I watched The Mandalorian today. So I did watch the finale today. So so we're going to talk about the Mandalorian. There was no Superman and Lois and no Gotham Knights yesterday, so I'm not going to talk about that. But we are going to talk about first Elijah Wood and Lord of the Rings, and he chimed in about the Lord of the Rings movies. So I have an article about that, of course, and his opinion about the new Lord of the Rings movies. Here we go. Okay. So Elijah Wood has a concern about the new Lord of the Rings movies plan. The Lord of the Rings star reacts to Warner Brothers developing new movies based on J.R.R. Tolkien's work. Elijah Wood has weighed in on Warner Brothers and New Line's plan to develop more Lord of the Rings movies. In a new interview with GQ, the 42-year-old actor said he was generally supportive of the idea, but admitted to having a concern. 42. Lord of the Rings was a long time ago. I'm fascinated and I'm excited, he said. I hope it's good. I'm surprised. I don't know why I'm surprised because, of course, there would be more movies. Obviously, at the core of that is a desire to make a lot of money. It's not that a bunch of executives are like, let's make really awesome art. And again, not begrudging anybody because, of course, it is commerce. But great art can come from commerce. So those two things are not mutually exclusive. But Lord of the Rings didn't come out of that place, he added. It came out of a passion for these books and wanting to see them realized. And I hope that that is ultimately what will drive everything forward with whatever these subsequent movies are. I just hope that it's the same motivating factor at its core. Whenever they hire a screenwriter and a filmmaker, that is with reverence for Tolkien's material and enthusiasm to explore it. In another recent interview with Extra, Wood was asked if he'd be down to reprise his iconic role as Frodo Baggins in a reboot. I don't know about that, but if there's more films that potentially involve Frodo, I would be down, he said. Wood has been making the rounds promoting his role on the new season of Showtime's hit cannibalism drama, Yellow Jackets. The Lord of the Rings trilogy earned a combined $2.9 billion at the global box office and won 17 Oscars. The makers of the trilogy are also in the mix for the new projects, with director Peter Jackson and his partners Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens previously released in a statement. Warner Brothers and Embracer have kept us in the loop every step of the way. We look forward to speaking with them further to hear their vision of the franchise moving forward. So that was interesting. So, well, sorry, Elijah, but the motivation to making those movies now definitely ain't the same as before. Definitely, definitely. Well, I mean, on the side of the executives, there's always the money. That in order for them to make the money, make the movies, Peter Jackson had to convince them that they can make the movies and they can make money off those movies. So it's the same for the executives, but will it be the same for the filmmakers? That's the question. That is the question. I keep hearing about Yellow Jackets. I don't even know. what channel that is on. I keep hearing about it. So I haven't seen that, but I don't know what channel that is on. But yeah, so I wonder who they will bring in to to do these new movies, and how involved do they expect Peter Jackson to be. Like, would they like for him to be like an executive producer overlooking things, blah 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 blah, you know, kind of like sort of overseeing the vision, kind of like George Lucas overseeing the Star Wars visions, or Kathleen Kennedy overseeing the Star Wars visions, that sort of thing. So I wonder, like, just how much would they want him to be involved? Horror based? Oh, yeah. I have a friend who loves horror, but that's not my bag. And I don't have Showtime. But yeah, I asked my friend who loves horror if she's seen it. she's she is a horror fanatic. If it's a horror movie, she will go, and she's waiting for it. She's watching it. So I'll ask her about it. But yeah. So, and I also wonder, depending on Peter Jackson's involvement, like how much his involvement will affect the film. Like if he doesn't have any involvement at all, whether it's an EP sort of overlooking it or not, like how much that will affect the movies, whether that, whether it's better for him to, have hands off, or whether it's better for him to be involved. So, you know, you wouldn't be excited to produce one of those movies. Lord of the Rings is kind of, it's an older franchise, and it's well beloved. It is well beloved. So I can see why I can see why they would want to keep mining, you know, that franchise for content, because it is well loved, and it's been around for eons. So there's, it has humongous built-in nostalgia factor. So let's see. I say that saying, when the Lord of the Rings came out, I had never heard of the Lord of the Rings. I've heard of The Hobbit, but never knew that there was a sequel series after it. So I had no idea there was a whole trilogy of books that followed The Hobbit. So, which is crazy, because I'm an avid reader. I read a lot. I did not know that there was that these books were so famous. So I had no idea that, that these things existed until the movies came out, which is crazy for me. Okay. Couldn't get through. You couldn't get through episode 1 of the Amazon series. I'm gonna, I keep saying this, when I do my trial, when I do my free trial of the Amazon, I'm gonna check it out then. But in the meantime, I'm still waiting for Upload to come back. That's when I'm going to do my trial. When Upload comes back, then I'm going to do my trial. Then I'm going to check out Lord of the Rings and see if it's as horrible as everyone says it is. Because people are acting like it's just trash. And I have to see for myself. I have to see for myself if it really is as trash as everyone says it is. But on to the Grogu finale. So, so it was very interesting. So the whole thing just, basically was all about Mandalore, and mainly took place on Mandalore. And it was very interesting to see that little Grogu rescued Din Djarin from the stormtroopers. Of course, Din Djarin did most of the work. And it was down to he had knocked out most of the stormtroopers who was holding him, and it was down to one. So but little Grogu came in and rescued him from the very last one. I thought that was so cute. So come in with his no, and then rescued him. So then they were together, and then the guy who I said would go, bring back reinforcements, he did. He sent everyone down to be reinforcements, and then they had this big all-out fight, and I'm just trying to figure out how they have who made these I'm still trying to figure out who made all of these Beskar armor suits for the stormtroopers. Like, who is their armorer? And if they did not use the forge, because the forge wasn't lit, so they mined the Beskar from Mandalore, but then where did they forge these suits? And how did they learn how to use them? Who made the suits for them? I just could not get past these Beskar stormtrooper suits. And that there was so many stormtroopers in these suits, and there were so many of them. But anyway, there was an all-out fight between the Mandalorians and the stormtroopers. And Axe Woves came. And at first I thought it was going to be his last stand, because it was just him and that big old ship going against the TIE fighters. But he survived. He crashed it into the planet, but he got out. And I saw that other fans believe that the armorer was a spy for the Empire, but she wasn't. She wasn't. Boom. Told you I was going to bring that up. She was not the betrayer. Because the thing about it was, it was her idea to bring those two factions back together. And when Homegirl told Moff Gideon that the Mandalorians were coming back together, he was like, oh no, this can't be. That was the last thing he wanted to happen, was to have those two, to have the Mandalorians unite. So if she was a secret, Imperial spy, she would not have been the one to do that, because that's not something that the Empire wanted to happen. So, and I was like, yeah, it was too much of a betrayal for me to believe that it was her. So, so you had that, you had the all-out fight between the stormtroopers, you had Din Djarin finding Moff Gideon's clones. So he tried to act like he wasn't obsessed with clones, but he was cloning himself to try to make himself a Jedi. And I was like, okay, clone himself to make a Jedi. So that means Grogu is definitely going to have to use his Jedi powers in these fights. And he did. He used his Jedi powers against the three little red whatevers that matched, that looked like the same things that I don't know, basically those same things that had in the New World Order with what's his face, in the movie with Ben Solo. I can't remember his name. But with the, with Han Solo's son, those red things. So he was using his powers in the fight. So he would he was helping Jin Djarin. While Jin Djarin was fighting, he was using his powers to knock the things back and knock the weapons away. And it was cool. It was cool seeing him. I mean, he wasn't doing a lot, so it wasn't like it was, this unbelievable. He was fighting them. He was just doing little stuff to help because he's just a little thing. And I no, I keep bringing up the suits because the suits pissed me off. The suits, it gave me the icks. It gave me the icks that they were using their resources, that they mined their resources. It just gave me the ick that Moff Gideon set up, stations on Mandalore, which was supposed to be, their planet that they couldn't, live on because they destroyed it. And he set up his own little station and was mining their resources and have his own little, it was just, I didn't like that. But I also did not like that Moff Gideon was so much more powerful, because I'm like, you just got this suit. You shouldn't be able to work work the suit the same way they are. You should be brand spanking new in it. You should know how to work it. They should have been able to whip his ass in it, because he shouldn't have been able to maneuver in it as well as they did. He should not have been able to maneuver as well as they did. He should not have been able. And they made it seem like he was just so much stronger when he was just a man. So he did not have, superhuman strength. He was using the same Beskar armor that they were. So there was absolutely no reason for him to be so much stronger than they were. And there was absolutely no reason for him to have been able to destroy the Darksaber, which can cut through anything. That thing could cut through anything, but it wasn't cutting through his armor, and he destroyed it. That just felt wrong to me. That felt all types of wrong to me. I did not like that. Yes, he did. He did. He showed out in the robot suit. He showed out outside of the robot suit. Grogu really showed what he could do. And like I said, it wasn't so much, it wasn't overwhelming. It wasn't like, he didn't go into Mary Sue territory. It was just enough where it stayed believable. It stayed believable. Yes, but that's all Din Djarin needed, because he was up against three people. So Grogu kept, knocking them over, knocking their weapons away, and just keeping it, on a fair and even playing for Jinjarin. So yeah, I just he was way too strong. Way too strong. Crushed that thing like a soda can. And I'm just like, this is the dark saber. This is they built this thing up like it was the strongest thing ever. Like it could cut through anything. And he was able to break it. He he was not a super like he had clones. Unless you're gonna try to say he was a clone that they cloned to have superhuman strength or superhuman abilities. I don't see like they were doing experiments on him. How was he able to do all this stuff? It's just it's wild, wild and unbelievable. This yes, he technically already sort of took him in. That sort of happened during the Boba Fett show. He sort of he technically took him in during the Boba Fett show, but this is him formally adopting him. He formally adopted him, I guess, the Mandalorian way. He better not be alive. He better be dead. I'm just saying. Him and all his clones better be dead. They better have died in the flames. They better have died in the flames. Oh, and that was so cool how Grogu saved them, how to shielded them from the flames with his force powers until so kept them from burning up in the explosion. That was nice. And so yeah, so the episode ends with them, well, not ends, it goes on with them having their little ceremonies in a slightly more safer water, but like they know they have to stay on the steps because the water is way too deep, and there is a mythosaur in the water, so it's slightly more safer than the water they was having their ceremony in on that other planet. But so but the mythosaur is down below, so I guess we'll see it eventually. But they had a cute little ending with Din Djarin and his little sitting outside his house with Grogu at the pond playing with the frogs using his force. It was so cute, like a little family scene at home. It was so cute. The ending was satisfying. It was cute. What do I give this season? I don't know. I don't know. Um, I don't know. This season has been up and down. It has been really up and down. I would give it probably a 5. I mean, the last couple of episodes bring it up, and I like the I like the finale is great, but overall the average out, yeah, I give it a 5, and that's only because the finale brings it up. Well, I wonder if it will have a season 4, because of that, what I heard about that trilogy, the movies, and one of the trilogies are supposed to be addressing a time period from the Mandalorian, and Mandalorian and Boba Fett, that time period. So if they're going to have a movie during the same time period as the Mandalorian and Boba Fett and all of that, it feels like, I don't know. It feels like they're gonna deal with, like, I don't know, like they're gonna end that time period with the movie, maybe. Although Boba Fett still has more seasons to go, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how the movie goes before we, start counting our chickens and eggs and stuff. Yeah, 5. I give it a 5. I give it a 5. So, yes. So, because of the finale and the cuteness factor, because Grogu was especially cute, but it dragged. It dragged. It was some episodes that just really dragged. And I still have questions because so they had it where, okay, that homeboy, he knew about Moff Gideon. He knew that Din Djarin had killed Moff Gideon. So a bit basically, so now the New Republic knows that Moff Gideon's dead. Do they know about Homegirl and how she was his spy? Or is she still an Imperial spy? Did they trace him back to her? Or is she still embedded in the New Republic? So, because she could still cause havoc if they don't figure out that she is trouble, and that what she was doing, and that she was still connected to Moff Gideon. So I have questions. Like they call themselves wrapping things up with a bow, but they did not address that girl. That girl is still a loose end for me. She is still a loose end for me. uh, well, I feel like he was the one who was cloning Moff Gideon's bodies, which means he knew that there was clones of Moff Gideon out there. So he probably was a loose end for them, that they had to, and she couldn't just come out and kill him, because then that would trace back to her. So she probably did that to tie up the loose end, so then no one would know about Moff Gideon's cloned bodies. Because Moff Gideon didn't clone those bodies. He doesn't have the knowledge to do so. Homeboy did. He was the clone scientist or whatnot. So I think that's what that had to do. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it ties back into the cloning. So I still feel like she's a loose end. She is a loose end. She is loose end unless they. I feel like she's a loose end. They tried to tie it up with a bow, but she's still out there. She is still out there. But that's it for the Mandalorian finale. It was very. I enjoyed it. And it did like I said it was going to tie everything together, and I guess it eventually did tie everything together. Still only brought the season up to a 5, but it eventually tied everything together, tied all the loose points together, and I just wish the season hadn't been so slow in the middle, but it is what it is. We'll see what they'll do next. But so yeah, so that's it. There is no Flash today, but there will be Titans. So I will be talking about Titans next Monday, and Friday I have a Game of Thrones video because I finished my Game of Thrones rewatch. So that made me want to do a Game of Thrones video. So this Friday is a Game of Thrones video, and I'll be back next Monday. So in the meantime, thanks for watching.